line between functionality and aesthetics for you?
Aesthetics has always come before functionality.
Can't put one above the other. I think that it has to go hand in hand.
Aesthetics are the ones which is going to catch your eye.
Blending of comfort and style is the key to modern living.
Keep on researching and then fulfill their aspirations.
A design is good looking.
ऐसे वर्ष में इसलिए next time they have to take care of that.
कुछ काम नहीं करती ये सब बेकार ऐसा ही होता है.
You are conditioned by light, natural light.
It is sometimes important to educate the client.
I just can't agree more on this. Hello everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to the Aristo Designers Roundtable Ahmedabad edition. I'm Nishita, Kedia, an architect and partner at New Space Design Studio. And as someone passionate about transformative design, I'm thrilled to moderate today's discussion on designing for versatility with an incredible panel of experts. So let's get this started. We live in a world where flexibility is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. And this shift presents a fundamental challenge. How do we strike the perfect balance between functionality and aesthetics? How do we create spaces that are not just practical but are also inspiring, comfortable, and reflective of personal style? To help us explore this, we have an incredible lineup of design experts who are shaping the future of flexible, multi-use spaces, who are going to share with us their insights on smart design solutions, the role of technology in adaptability, and the art of creating seamless and stylish transformations. So, if you are an interior designer and enthusiast, a homeowner who is looking for inspiration, or a professional seeking new ideas, you are in for an exciting conversation. So let's get this started. Our first topic of discussion today is meeting the demands of modern lifestyles. How do you strike that perfect balance between functionality and aesthetics in today's fast-paced world? So, let me introduce our first panelist today, Akash Goplani from Space 9 Projects, a practice known for its luxury design approaches. So, Akash, in your experience, tell me a statement that you've been able to strike a balance between functionality and aesthetics.
Well, thank you so much. And we live in an era where travel is also a part of our lives. People travel and then they have inspiration and memories from all those travels. And everyone who are making a new home or new space want all their memories in their spaces. So as an architect, it's very important that you keep on researching about various places and how you can. So I will give you an example. We did a penthouse for our friends, and they have traveled so much globally. They have traveled to Mexico, they have traveled to Bali, and they have traveled to Goa. And they want all the three things in the same terraces. So they want one corner from one zone, the another from that zone. So it's very important for an architect to find elements of design which can bring in the feel of those spaces. So that's how I do. We keep on researching and we then fulfill their aspirations. Thank you.
Oh, I think that's very exciting. I'm going to pass on the baton next to Jwalant. Jwalant is the founding partner and principal architect at Anne Black Studio, an experiential studio that focuses on innovative design experiences. So, Jwalant, tell me, what's the thin line between functionality and aesthetics for you?
For us, aesthetics has always, it's always come first. Functionality is part of what we have to give. A person builds a house, builds an office, even a builder builds a building to sell. So there has to be a functionality for what we have been approached for. But aesthetic is a big part of it, because if there are 100 architects and they go to one because they like that style of that architect or what the architect is going to offer, they will not say that this architect is more functional than the other. So I think aesthetics has always come before functionality. Having said that, it's not that we will let go certain things which they want, which we are not able to offer to them. But without aesthetics, it will not work. And I always tell my staff that, and if something which is not exciting to see, I'm like that when you see any of the world pageants like Miss World or whatever, Miss India, they will ask the question last and see how brilliant that girl is. They will first see that girl dance and sing and swimwear and everything, and then they will ask the question. So it is important, but it comes slightly later than aesthetics for me.
Oh, I think I just can't agree more on this. All right, so Krishna, let's hear it from you. By the way, Krishna is a partner and architect at Compartment S4, a multidisciplinary design collaborative based in Ahmedabad. Krishna, what's your take on this?
So for us, because we are this collective of architects and designers, for us, we've coined this term which is called functional aesthetics. So I can't put one above the other. I think that it has to go hand in hand. Something has to work and it has to look nice at the same time. The one thing that I really feel that our role in today's time is that we have to deliver designs which are more multifaceted. So you cannot say that a design is good looking. No, it has to have more meaning, it has to have more value, it has to give that experience to the client. So that is something that we always strive for, to get the right balance between both, to make sure that we are not putting one above the other.
So we have a lot of interesting answers and a lot of takeaways. Ankita, let's dive you in here. With 15 years of the success story of ADHWA, your multidisciplinary design collaborative, what's the one mantra that you follow to achieve this balance?
So I think I agree with Krishna here that blending of comfort and style is the key to modern living. And a lot of time, luxury often misjudged as modern lifestyle. So I think the balance is very much required. A lot of time, because we are in a very technology driven world right now, the new technologies that has come up, बहुत बार ऐसा है that we consider that luxury is something that we are focusing more and we are compromising on the basic core, which is functionality, but it's not true. In fact, we are improving it with a lot of technologies.
Right. So I see a different stance here where we're talking about technology as well. So let's take this last insight on this topic from architect Prashant Trivedi, who's representing a bold and imaginative design practice, Squelette Designs. Prashant, why don't you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So basically, our approach is more towards cohesive kind of, you can say. We understand the demand of this particular space, and we try to balance out between functionality and aesthetics in our way. It is our take every time. Like Jwalant said, because I also believe that aesthetics are the ones which is going to catch your eye first. Then comes the comfort, then comes the flow of the space. That's how we try to balance it out.
Right. I think that was a very, very insightful discussion on, of course, balancing functionality and aesthetics. But as spaces continue to evolve, the challenge isn't just making spaces beautiful, it's about making them work smarter. So, this brings me to our next topic, strategies for maximizing the use of limited spaces. Let me begin this time with architect Shivansh Singh, who's an architect with an 11-year of experience in practice and now a partner at Studio 2+2. So, Shivansh, in your experience, what are the most effective design strategies for optimizing small or multifunctional spaces that feels both spacious and efficient?
Actually, with the advent of this urban development, the spaces have become much more costlier. And with the rising prices of spaces, the demands of the clients have also increased. So every space we design, it's never like the client tells you that since my space is small or like it is not a big apartment, I don't want these things. Like all the clients want wardrobes in their rooms. They want big beds. They will not settle for a queen size bed. They still want a king size bed in 10 by 10 room. So in that case, the only way out is to use the maximum space vertically also. So the furnitures we try to make the most use of the horizontal as well as the vertical axis. Like if you are doing wardrobes, the shutters will open and it will become a dressing unit inside the wardrobe, or some hidden storage which doesn't look like a wardrobe. It looks like it's a wall with some mural on it. But at the end of the day, the client knows it's a wardrobe. So all these strategies help the client also to keep the space, looking bigger, not too many things in the room, and it also helps us to cater to the demands of the clients.
Agreed, absolutely agreed. I think here we are all talking about the aspirations of the clients, and that's what we're talking about. So, Sachi, let's hear from you. Sachi is the principal architect of Studio Risa, whose underlying philosophy revolves around minimalism as the ultimate luxury. So, Sachi, how are you going to connect this philosophy of yours with this question?
I personally don't take small spaces or smaller homes as a constraint, but we can take it as an opportunity to keep that minimalistic approach. You know, you can actually um, maybe a part of furniture which is aesthetic as well. It gives multi functional usage as well. So, but yeah, taking air, light, that as your hero of the design, and if you design that space keeping that in mind, that becomes luxurious as well, and it gives a good feel to the space.
Absolutely, absolutely. Vaibhavi, let's hear your thoughts on this. And for the benefit of the audience, Vaibhavi is an interior architect and design educator. So, Vaibhavi, please take it from here.
So I think we all talked about different aspects that are kind of key rules on how they work in the interiors, but there is one threshold that we actually inculcate in our practices. The world has become ephemeral, so there's so much information, and what happens that slowly the brief of the client has elongated a lot,
Expanded,
right?
yes.
Secondly, it is ever changing because the moment we start with something that there is already some other content that they've already seen, they're exposed to that and they think that now that's a priority. So you change. So what we do is we do an extensive understanding of educating them on what is their priority of needs, because what happens that when we actually discuss about smaller spaces, and then yeah, obviously you are going to jump, there are some obvious answers that we're going to jump onto modular spaces. We're going to
Correct.
try to make things very aesthetic because we want things hide away. We do not want things like right on the face. So these are some aspects which I think most of the designers will do. But what we do is that we tell them that these are some things which are your aspirations. This is something what you actually need.
Exactly.
So how do we go with it?
Yeah.
Then they realize that yeah, I think we are very demanding, and then let's prioritize this five aspects, and then we design things. So that's how we go about it. So this is one method that we took across, and then I consider light as one of that aspect where you are conditioned by light, natural light. So it's not that you decide how you want natural light as an interior designer, because there is a set of space given to you. So even if the space is like 200 square feet or 300 square feet, it is sometimes light that can do so many wonders on how the space appears, because you cannot do much with the square feet, but you can definitely do on the performance of the space. So we also take care when we are dealing with smaller spaces. Light is our major agenda. So
Correct.
that's how we work.
I think that's a very different perspective. I would say rather that it's a very academic perspective at looking at this question. So, a lot of takeaway for all of you. But yeah, let's come to Krishna. So, Krishna, would you like to share any strategy that you've incorporated in your projects?
So yeah, I agree with most of them when they say that aspirations are huge and we have a very limited space to work with, right? So what we try to do is we try to make space which is dynamic. We try to make space which is forever, changing or evolving. So how do you do that? You can do that by not being stuck in your mind about like these preconceived notions that this is a living room, this is only how it can be, or this is a bedroom and this is how a bedroom should be. So we try to move away from things like that. And like we've done this project, it was an office, and there was obviously, like all offices, so many demands, very limited space. We created this glass wall which was sliding. And when you say sliding, most people imagine that you can only slide things in one direction, right? But this entire glass wall was sliding in the perpendicular direction. What happens is that you can convert two cabins into one large conference room.
Correct.
And then you design your furniture accordingly, you design your lighting accordingly, and then you give them a cohesive space. So there are solutions. It's just that it requires some like out of the box thinking, out of the box approach to what you can do.
Absolutely. I think, when we talk about multifunctional spaces, it's absolutely about out of the box thinking and going that extra mile to achieve something more for your clients. So let's come back to Jwalant on this topic. Your firm has been working on a diverse range of projects and product lineup. So what are the strategies that you've adopted?
So for us, there are two things, two part of it. One, when it comes to interior spaces, we have used and we still use a lot of systems which are either foldable or they slide in, slide out to create one space into another spaces. Sometimes in my own house, when I first moved and started my practice, my office was within the house. It was a small room which we broke the wall and then we created a sliding partition, we created a bookshelf. After a couple of years, we moved out, my son was born, then it became a kid's room, then it became a guest room. So without really changing much, we were able to do that within that apartment of ours. When it comes to exteriors, Ahmedabad is a climate where during summers it becomes very hot, during winters it
Absolutely.
becomes beautiful to use a certain space. So we have created again for a lot of semi-covered areas which get closed during summers, so you are safe from the heat. But during winters, all of that open up. So the entire house transforms with the climate as well. And that starts to become very interesting because each individual also uses the house differently, depends on the age, when they're kids, when they grow up, when they get married, or when they have kids. So the house is something which is constantly changing, it's very dynamic. So we try and think of a life of a house at least 30 years and then
Correct.
try and create certain areas which can be changed over time without our intervention.
Correct. I think that's a very interesting take. I think I think it holds true for all of us, right? Because well, like somebody just mentioned that land has become so expensive. So you know that this is one space which has to be so dynamic in nature that it has to constantly keep evolving. Ankita, why don't you conclude this topic by suggesting some innovative solutions that you've adopted as a design practice?
So basically, I would like to, say a few generalized point. Like everybody have covered such amazing points. Like Shivansh has said that spaces have become so expensive. So which is very true. Money saved is money earned in this time. The same way every inches matters, but it is area specific. So maybe in Ahmedabad, we don't have to worry a lot about not having enough spaces and
Correct.
creating a multi-purpose furniture maybe or multi-purpose spaces. But we're working in Mumbai as well. So there, the real challenge is there. Like, but what I've realized is, and then we've been discussing in studio with our own design team and everybody that it is on a macro level and a micro level. So an architect's job is to, design multi-purpose spaces. Then the interior designer has to design it on a micro level where we are designing multi-purpose furnitures nowadays. But I feel that we've been doing it since ages. Like, I remember in my grandparents' house, there used to be a dining table which was a door of a crockery unit and it will come down and it will become a table when you need it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but these days, in the spaces, we've been forcefully trying to do all of this. So, like Vaibhavi rightly said, that we have to prioritize their needs, that whether do you really need this multi-functional thing in your house or it is just a fascination about having something just for sake of having it. So we have to be very conscious where it is required. Surely you have to give them the solutions, but if it is not, then unnecessarily we don't have to just forcefully do it
Correct.
just to make it something new.
Right.
So that's what I think.
So I think very interesting discussion, where we've highlighted the power of smart and innovative design solutions in making the most of the limited spaces. But where we're talking about how prioritizing every inch of a space is as much important as creating, something which is very timeless and has to be very dynamic in nature. Uh, but beyond maximizing space, how we define different areas within a space is also a very crucial factor, right? When we're talking about functionality and flow. So, this brings me to our last topic of discussion for today, the art of zoning, exploring how different design elements like flooring, lighting, or color can create distinct functions within a singular space. So, Prashant, let's start with you here. How do you think that the art of zoning has helped you in your design process?
There is a general observation of mine that there are a lot of luxury apartment buildings are being built in around Ahmedabad, right? So there are a lot of, I am seeing the surge of those kind of spaces where living room and dining room are connected. We all have dealt with those kind of spaces where it is a 20 feet by 40 feet a space where it is being divided into dining and living area. So there are two distinctively different functions, right? But we have to accommodate in one. So rather by the means of sliding folding partition or just partition which is porous, which is aesthetically pleasing, or sometimes we just keep it open. So in that case, there are two distinctively different functions. What I feel is we need some kind of warmth or coziness while having our meals, right? But it is there, it is in the open. So there might be the demand from the people, of course, because they must be loving it. That's why it is getting built again and again. So there are a lot of ideas which we can incorporate. We This is a generalized thought of mine. So what if we can? There are a lot of means that we can do it. Differentiate those spaces with lighting or with different flooring or kind of ceilings which we do. But there comes this point that the art of zoning, the kind of circulations you design in terms of plan. So that becomes very important for us as a studio. So we try to figure out what kind of flow, what kind of walking pattern is going to be there. Very academic way we try to tackle those kind of things. Of course, the materials and the kind of options available in the market helps us to achieve that.
Yeah, I think as designers, we're all taught this art of zoning. And I've realized that, I think that's just so inherent in all of us that it just, guides us in the right manner. So, Shivansh, would you like to add what are your insights on this? Especially because your firm specializes in residential interiors.
We only do residential interiors. So actually, what happens is, like Prashant also said, and in the earlier topics we discussed, whenever we zone a space, it is sometimes important to educate the client about the aspirations. Vaibhavi told about that point in detail. And in these aspects, sometimes we try to make our client overcome the possibility of few rooms or areas in the house which are actually not required. Because as the even post COVID, the way everything is changing, people do not have a utility of guest rooms in their houses. Like I've personally seen that. So in a lot of projects from the very starting, we started omitting guest rooms and trying to, because most of the time when the developer designs a guest room, it is near the living areas or it is near the drawing area, so-called drawing area. Today I feel that there is not even an importance of drawing area in the rooms. We are trying to follow a classical, colonial British culture of drawing rooms, and it has come from the bureaucratic homes which were designed earlier. So I try to educate my client in those aspects, and most of the times it is a successful concept. And it only can be told through the zoning. When you are getting an apartment layout or a house layout, when you are doing a re-layouting of that with zones, you tell the client that these were the spaces which were there when you came to me, and these are the spaces which I would prefer, as per your lifestyle. Once you are able to tell them that in your lifestyle these are not required and how they are not required, like you have to definitely give a justification.
Correct.
I definitely ask all my clients, like any of my client who has been talking to me in the first day, my first question is like that कि कितने guests आते हैं, महीने में कितनी बार guest रुकता है घर में, and साल में कितने relatives आपके यहाँ घर में बैठते हैं.
Correct.
Most of the time, like with the current generation, most of the time the answer is 2 to 4 days.
Yeah.
And all the societies currently, like we all know, are having that new gimmick of guest rooms in the society. That is, we are also, doing a lot of landscapes in housing society, so we know about that. So we always tell them that you have bought a nice apartment in the society. They have this opportunity. So why do you want to waste your space?
Correct.
And sometimes we emotionally and financially, convince them by saying that this is the per square feet price you have paid for this space. And if you are not using this space, then this price is your loss. Rather, better use it in the interiors, for the design of the space. So it has been always very helpful for our projects. And from the starting, like we started from developing residential, I would say affordable apartments. I would say that till COVID, 2+2 was only doing affordable apartments. The budget for our apartments was 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs. And that's how we trained ourselves. Today, when we are doing luxurious apartments, we feel there's so much money, there's so much space. And that, mental paradigm of how to fit everything, all the ideas in that budget, helped us today to convince client with those stories, because even when the client has money, everybody is coming from that same background. Most of the
Correct,
clients.
correct.
If you talk to them about these things, they understand कि यार कोविड के बाद तो मेरे फ्रेंड्स रात को आते हैं ना, फिर भी उनको अपने ही घर जाके सोना होता है, तो मैं वो रूम क्यों बनाऊं? तो and that is only possible through zoning. Without zoning, you cannot explain them that.
I think that's a very important perspective. Um, so thank you, Shivansh, for bringing that out, because I think apart from just being interior designers, architects, I think we've all become psychologists, educators, and sometimes counselors as well. So, so yes. So Sanchi, let's come to you on this topic now. What are your thoughts on the art of zoning?
Zoning can be very well done with, of course, flooring, lighting, ceiling. But there is one very important thing as an architect, I would say, is there are volumes that you can play. So I'll just give you an example that we did a multi-purpose kind of an area for a home in Ahmedabad. And there was a kitchen and a bar area and a dining area with a good 10 feet height. And it opens to a living area which was a good 20 feet high. So the energy of the user changes. The conversation, the how can I say, the mood changes basically
Yeah.
when you are in a bigger space.
Correct.
So that I was also very surprised seeing that. I think it works well.
Yeah, right. Vaibhavi, because I just mentioned that, we've become educators also. And because I know that you're also a design educator. So from the perspective of, of being an educator, how important do you think is the art of zoning?
Honestly, zoning is so vast, and I think that's interior designing, because that's how you start,
Yeah.
channeling. How do you visualize? So all the access comes into the picture when we think of zoning. It's the vertical, horizontal, and flooring. And I'm just so happy that nowadays there's customization to most of the things possible. So if you
Correct.
want to do something, you want to give an information of walking, you can do great work on flooring. You want to give an information where there is some accessibility beyond this limit, then there's some beautiful metal curtains I've seen nowadays. They're so
Yeah.
good. And then there's partitions that you can play with in different heights. So I think all different access can do zoning. It's not just the floor layout.
Correct.
Firstly. And secondly, I feel so there was one example I would like to give, because an entire project was based on zoning and circulation. So it was a site office. And builder said that it's going to take, like, we are just now into the second basement, and it's going to take some time to reach to the sample unit. And if I want to encash some clients from my site visit, how to go about it? I'm like, that's perfect. We take the architect's layout, we built the site office on the architect's layout. That was the first thing that we did. Inside that, it was going to be more commercial space, because they'll have the conference area, marketing and sales whatsoever. What we did was that the entire kitchen area was a conference room. So the entire flooring was demarcated in a different way. So to gauge that this is going to be the scale of kitchen, though it's a conference area for now. So the entire tour happens in the office itself. So they can gauge the scale of the entire site office as the sample unit. And the waiting area we converted into a nice luxury living area, but it's going to be a waiting area. So it was a mix and match of what they can expect in that apartment, and we did everything just through the flooring. So it's just one way, but I think zoning is actually how the entire space is being built. So one aspect wouldn't work with zoning. It's like you can go as crazy as you can.
Absolutely. Can't agree more. So, Akash, we've already heard some interesting discussion around the art of zoning. But why don't you tell me and maybe conclude this topic with your wide experience in, the segment of interior design? That how do you think this has benefited your practice?
So we are living in an era where we multitask. We are, multitasking every time. We are on our phones, we are on our computers working on projects. They are also noting down things for us. Similarly, the question is, can the spaces multitask? And most of you have already told how you have multitasked your projects. So our idea is also try to give experiences to our end users where any space given to us can, function in a different way. Can a space be a guest room? Can that very space be a meditation room? Can that very space be a study room? Can that very space be a guest room? So this is how we try to give more and more functions to all the spaces. In a particular area, you can have your own niche space. And that's how all these elements, the floorings, the lights, and the colors play in role. Okay, if it's a huge space and you want to have a me corner here, so we can have a very beautiful light behind the besides the chair where you can sit and read. So creating corners in every space is the basic idea of art. And that's how a designer can bring more experience, more fruitful experience to the space. That's how we look into our projects.
So, today we unraveled the art of multifunctional design, where beauty meets purpose, small spaces expand through smart solutions, and zoning transforms chaos into harmony. As our lives become more dynamic, our spaces must keep up, adapting with creativity and positive intent. A huge thank you to all our panelists for your inspiring insights and to our audience for being part of this evolving conversation. We will see you the next time.